Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. My name is Vinny and I'm joined with today's guests, Nate and Steve. They're selling their Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you doing?
Hey Vinny, good. How are you?
Yeah, doing really good, thanks. It's great to have both of you on this episode. I'm really looking forward to talking about your business. And just before we go into a bit more of a deep dive, let me just give our listeners a brief summary of your business. So today's listing is an Amazon FBA and e-commerce business in the outdoors niche, and it was created in May 2015. The average monthly revenue for the business is $109,006, and it makes an average of $36,355 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are an Amazon Seller Central account with 36 SKUs in total, 2 domains and all of the site's content and files, email lists. There's one list with 30,000 subscribers hosted on Klaviyo and 3,000 hosted on Shopify, social media accounts, SOPs, supplier contracts and relationships, a trademark, and employee contracts. Please note that inventory is not normally included in the listing price, so further details can be provided to active buyers. You can head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 48575 to learn more about the business. If you want to start your due diligence, just remember to unlock the listing first. All right, guys, that's a really general overview of the business. Let's find out a bit more about the pair of you. So can you tell me a bit about your background in building or running online businesses? Is this your first project or have you got, some skin in the game?
Yeah, so this is our first business and we're both engineers by degree, and come to find out we're both very much entrepreneurs at heart. We were old friends and coworkers in the corporate 9-to-5 world before this, and Nate actually went off to get his MBA, and then a few years later I followed up with him just to reconnect, and we were talking shop and talking business. And at the same time, I was lightly selling on Amazon and sourcing products from overseas. And I was heavily learning Amazon selling through some new courses online. And Nate had some great ideas for this product in the outdoor industry, and coming together was actually just pretty magical. We quickly formed a 50-50 partnership, launched our new product idea through eBay and Amazon, and within a year we were already up to 7 figures.
That's awesome, guys. That's a great story. It sounds like your paths crossed at just the right times. Obviously, both of you were bitten by the entrepreneurial bug pretty early on, and it sounds like after a bit of experimenting, you both managed to find something that the pair of you can work on, which is great. You were mentioning there, Steve, about FBA and scaling the business, and we'll jump into that in a short while, because you were saying that this is the first time you started an online business before for the pair of you. Were there any resources that were really helpful for you as you were learning more about FBA and selling online, whether this might be communities or certain resources or just anything like that?
Yeah, initially, I kind of forced my way through it, and then what really turned the corner for me was we were expecting our first baby, and I was kind of running up against this wall where I always wanted to start my own business and run my own business. And I kind of felt like the walls were closing in on me a little bit. And I made the dive into, it was actually a Startup Bros course was the name of the course. And they went through very much in detail the whole process on how to source products from overseas and private label them, and a lot of Amazon selling skills and back-end optimization and that whole process. And I would really give a shout out to Startup Bros for the ultimate resource to getting us established.
Awesome. Let me ask you, how did you come up with the idea to start the business in FBA? You mentioned just now, Steve, about, you were dabbling a bit in selling and sourcing products on Amazon. Like, how did you stumble on the idea of setting up an FBA business specifically?
Well, so the FBA business specifically was coming out of the Startup Bros course, but at the same time is when I connected with Nate. And I wasn't in FBA yet at that time, but I'll actually let Nate describe how the idea started.
Yeah, just to add to that a little bit, sports and outdoors is something that Steve and I have always been into, kind of grew up with. And in general, the sport and outdoor industry has kind of stayed away from technology or electronic solutions. It's kind of a little bit of an old boys club that way. And we just had some problems we wanted to solve using kind of modern electronic and technology products. So that allowed us to come up with kind of the products. And I actually shopped them around to a few like small mom and pop brick and mortar stores in the industry and just didn't have the packaging we needed, didn't have things like UPC codes and whatever else. And because of that, it was just so much easier to start on Amazon and start with the FBA model. We were really able to, use the listing to do the advertising instead of trying to put a new product on a shelf in a store where people haven't seen it before. And then obviously with social media and driving it to our Amazon listings as well, I was able to get some initial traffic. So kind of failed in the brick and mortar stores initially, but then found good traction on FBA quickly after.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you, how does the business primarily make money? Because obviously there's an FBA, majority from my understanding is made by FBA, but then there's also an e-commerce aspect in there as well, right?
Yeah, so majority of our revenue does come from FBA. On top of that, we have 2 Shopify sites that bring in revenue. And then we partner with a number of brick and mortar stores in our industry that sell our product as well.
Great stuff. You guys obviously have found a lot of success with this business. You've managed to scale it to 7 figures in quite a short space of time. But our listeners will be wondering, why are you selling the business right now instead of staying with it or growing it?
Well, so, with the e-commerce business, it's really afforded us a good lifestyle. And over the years, I've actually started a young family. And so I'm kind of settled down in that nature. And Nate has actually been traveling around the world a lot. And we've just sort of found ourselves in 2 separate worlds, for the most part, being 50-50 partners and trying to balance all of that, as well as just with the experiences we've had and new opportunities coming up, we've sort of diverged a little bit in that regard. So we figured now it just feels right for us to just test the waters and see what the marketplace thinks of our business. It's not a requirement at this point. We would continue running it for, indefinitely at this point. But all throughout our business, we've always wanted to test things. That's kind of been our motto, is test things and then see what works and go from there. So this is just kind of the next phase in our experience that we feel is right.
For sure. Makes sense. Well, let's tap into your experience as you were scaling this business. Was there anything that you tried? You were mentioning there, Nate, about you're in the business of testing. I guess that's from your, engineering background. Was there anything as you were building and scaling this business that you did test that you found really worked for you?
Yeah, for sure. For new product development, we've really learned to use the audience that we have established and kind of our brand loyalty, especially our email list. So really early on, when we have new product ideas, we can kind of shoot them out to our audience and get a good read on, what their thoughts are on it. If it's something they'd pay money for, what kind of price points we'd be talking, and what additional features they'd be looking for, what other problems we can solve for them. A lot of our new product ideas actually come from our customer base. So that's been really kind of eye-opening for us, how easily you can test new products when you do have a engaged, responsive audience like that.
Awesome. When you started running the business, were there any software or tools that helped you get going?
Yeah, right off the bat, Freshdesk was huge for us. It really allowed us to manage our customer service, our communications, and also just build templates and canned responses. It even helped us build an FAQ for customers to search out online. And looking at it, it seems like a lot of our SEO strength actually comes from Freshdesk and the solutions and FAQs that we have in the system. And that was our main system when it comes to supporting the customer. And then the order side, ShipStation is really at the base of managing all of our orders outside of FBA, managing inventory levels, and also communicating through ShipStation with our 3PL that handles all of the order fulfillment for brick and mortar, Shopify, and other sources outside of Amazon.
Great stuff. Was there anything that you guys tried that didn't give you the ROI that you were hoping?
Yeah, certainly. We, in 2017, I believe, we signed up with a couple kind of major cable program networks in the industry. for advertising, and definitely kind of ate our lunch on that one. Didn't see nearly the ROI on that advertising spend that we see in kind of our more core channels, which are Amazon PPC and email and social media. So definitely have shied away from the cable television network since 2017.
Fair enough, guys. Let's shift over to the marketing side of things now. Can you tell me what you do in terms of marketing for the business?
Yeah, initially, a lot of our traffic was driven off of Facebook back in 2015, 2016, kind of switched more to our email list. And as of late, the last 2 years, our best ROI and where most of our marketing budget has been going into Amazon PPC. I think our strategy in that area got better. I think some of Amazon's algorithms with their PPC got better, and we're just able to find our best ROI there now. Obviously, the algorithms on the social media side of stuff changed as well, so that made it a little harder. But majority of our spend right now is on Amazon PPC.
Gotcha. Can you guys describe to me on sort of like a day-to-day basis or even a weekly basis, what's the type of work that you do to maintain the site or the business?
Yeah, so Steve does a lot of the back-end work. He'll do a lot of the inventory, supplier communications. He does oversee our one part-time employee and kind of the customer service that goes along with that. And I'm much more kind of face the sales and marketing, do most of our brick and mortar store communication. We each kind of keep our eye on our own bobber. And in total, we're typically, between Steve and I, we're typically putting in 10 to 15 hours a week combined. So 5 to 10 hours each. And our employee usually puts in around 10 hours a week as well to keep up with his responsibilities.
Yeah, so can you tell me a bit more about the employee? They're a part-time employee with the business, right?
Yes, he's actually been with us for 5 years now, so he knows a lot of the ins and outs of the business. He said he is willing to stay with the business if we were to sell it. And he started out actually working for us when back in the day, we had an office and we wanted to really formalize things, and we realized that just wasn't for us. So we really focused on just making everything virtual, which timed out very well for us, especially when we ran into this recent pandemic. We are already systemized and set up to handle that. And he's worked remotely ever since over the last couple of years. He'll log in every day and check in with customer service across all channels, and he will handle any of our dealer orders and wholesale orders, input those into ShipStation to communicate with our 3PL and follow up with invoicing there. So he knows just about everything. He wouldn't get involved with product development or things of that nature, but anything logistically, he's very helpful with.
That's great stuff. Yeah, sounds like you've got a really good employee under your belt there. And I think I heard you, Steve, saying that he is willing to stay on with the business after the sale.
Yes, he loves what he does. You know, he's in a position right now where working remotely is great for him.
Great to hear. For someone who seriously interested in buying this business, but isn't familiar with FBA, e-commerce, or the outdoors niche, what would you say are some of the skills or requirements they should learn or brush up on in order to step into the role and hit the ground running?
If it were me, I would definitely take the many Amazon courses that are out there. If they're not familiar with Amazon, I honestly recommend that a buyer be familiar with Amazon, just because that is the core of this business, but it's easy to learn. There's plenty of information out there. With e-commerce in general and website building, I mean, with Shopify that we use today, it's really plug and play. You don't have to be a web developer or anything like that to build a Shopify site, to manage the product listings and that. And then also when it comes to fulfilling orders with the ShipStation platform, that is amazing for just being able to communicate and understand what's happening there. And then with the customer service and things of that nature, Freshdesk and the FAQs and the canned responses that we have set up in there, we communicate with our part-time employee through Skype usually. So a lot of basic systems. If you're starting from scratch, there's obviously a little bit of a learning curve. And then when it comes to sourcing products overseas and things of that nature, it's just having good communication and building a solid relation, which we've worked on for many years, that would transition to a new buyer. So I guess with all that, it's all learnable. It's pretty seamless, but we have a lot of systems set up to make it easy for anybody to pick up.
Awesome stuff. If you did stay with the business, what are some of the ways you try to grow it?
I really go into detail with this if you unlock our listing. Our brand and our audience is very responsive to new products that we launch. improving on products that we already sell. We have 3 primary focuses within our category for our different product lines. And with that, I would work with our existing suppliers or even, consider some alternative suppliers if they have better connections and just build out around those 3 main focuses and not even necessarily build out on those right away. I would continue doing what we're doing for now on where we're at right now. But going forward, over as the years go by, I would just continue to build out on those 3 categories and continue to serve the audience that we've built and expand through content creation and possibly connecting more on social media with that audience. Nate, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think that's good.
Great stuff. Obviously, all businesses have risks with them. What would you say are some of the biggest risks with this FBA business that a buyer should be aware of?
One thing we ran into this year, which I think was pretty common, was some supply chain logistics just around the recent pandemic that we've been going through. So we definitely got caught shorthanded on inventory twice on 2 of our main products this fall. And, it just seems like every other year there's something like that you have to work, something new that you have to work through. This year, it just happened to be the pandemic. And, between us and our suppliers, we did as best we could to stay in stock, but definitely was a challenge this year.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Obviously, inventory management, kind of like the lifeblood of any e-commerce business, really. Making sure that you don't run out of stock is crucial. So that's always something to bear in mind. I've just got the last few questions to ask the pair of you before we wrap up this interview. How much support are you offering buyers?
Yeah, we'll definitely sign up for the standard 30 days. And we're absolutely willing to go above and beyond that just to make sure it's a successful transfer for over. So, all that's negotiable, but 30, 60, 90, and we'll be available for email support and phone calls and really do what we can to set up the new buyer for success.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, we both are.
Awesome. And are you open to seller financing, like negotiating something like an earnout?
Yeah, obviously everything's negotiable. We probably would lean more towards deals that had a heavier amount of cash up front versus a heavier amount of earnout up front. But yeah, that's all negotiable.
Okay, that's good to hear. Last question really from me, guys. If you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why would you say that this is a business that's worth buying?
I think a lot of that for me gets back to the audience and kind of the established brand that we've built. It's something that people recognize when they see it in brick and mortar stores. And then like we've talked about, just having that audience has been so key for us for testing and launching new products and coming up with new ideas and figuring out, what's next in this space, what's really going to appeal to the audience we have and what's going to allow us to keep growing that audience. So I really think kind of that core audience that we've established is where a lot of the exciting part of the business lies.
Yeah, I agree. And the niche that we've been operating in, it really seems like it's underrepresented on Amazon. A lot of the brands in our category are old players that really stick to brick and mortar. And we just really found our bread and butter with Amazon. And it's really helped us rank fairly quickly and kind of stay above the crowd that way.
Great stuff, guys. That's awesome to hear. Is there anything that you think I might have missed that you'd like to share?
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, Steve, Nate, it's been a real pleasure having both of you on today, and we hope that your FBA business gets picked up by the right buyer in the near future.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Vinny.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 48575. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked it, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.